Every country has a car that just belongs to them. In America, it's the Ford F-150. In Germany, the BMW M3 and Porsche 911. In Italy, the Fiat 500. These cars didn't just sell well. They became part of the national identity. People knew them, felt something about them, and built their culture around them. South Africa has one too. It's a German hatchback from 1974 that we kept building for 32 years, that outlasted every generation of its own replacements, and is still, right now, one of the most loved cars on SA roads. That car is the Citi Golf. And I want to tell you why it is, and always will be, South Africa's favorite car.
What about the Toyota Hilux, bro?
Are you crazy? What about the Polo?
What about the Cherry?
I think I speak for all men when I say I refuse to drive a car named after a fruit.
Yeah, cherries are for cherries.
It's 1974. Volkswagen has a problem. The Beetle, one of the most beloved cars ever made, is getting old. Over 21 million built, and now the world needs something new. In March of that year, at VW's Wolfsburg plant, a new car rolls off the line, the Golf, and it changes everything. For decades, Volkswagen was the Beetle, rear engine, rear-wheel drive, and a silhouette the whole world recognized. But the Golf flipped that formula completely. Front engine, front-wheel drive, and a modern hatchback body designed by legendary Italian stylist Giorgetto Giugiaro. In 1984, Volkswagen South Africa started building the Golf MK1 locally, right here in Uitenhage in the Eastern Cape. They called it the Citi Golf. And while Volkswagen moved on to the MK2, the MK3, the MK4, every generation sleeker, safer, more powerful, South Africa kept building the original for 25 more years. Now, why? Why would a country keep producing a car that the rest of the world had retired? Retooling a production line cost tens of millions of rands. The Citi Golf tooling was already paid off. The supply chain was local. Parts were cheap and plentiful. It was, by any measure, extraordinarily affordable to keep making. But that's the business reason. That's not the real reason. The real reason is that South Africans made it impossible to stop. The Citi Golf became the entry-level car for an entire country. Not just a market segment, a country. The first new car. The car you saved for. The car your parents drove you home from matric in. The car you learned to drive in and then couldn't let go of. No other car in South African history crossed class lines the way the Citi did. It belonged to everyone. And Volkswagen read the room. They didn't try to force SA into the MK2 or MK3. Instead, they slowly, carefully improved the Citi Golf without changing what made it work. They improved the engine and the interior, but the bones, that famous indestructible MK1 chassis, stayed the same. Here's where the Citi Golf stops being a car story and starts being a cultural story. It developed a scene. A proper, serious, devoted scene. Modified Citi Golfs became an obsession. Slammed-on coilovers, wide-arch kits, custom paint jobs that cost more than the car started at, sound systems that rattled the whole parking lot, Facebook pages, communities of people who weren't just driving this car, they were building their identity around it. And then, at the exact same time, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you had the unmodified Citis. The ones that had been in the same family for 20 years. The ones with 400,000 kilometers on the clock. This is what makes the Citi Golf genuinely special. The person who modified theirs to 80,000 rands worth of upgrades, and the person who bought theirs for 15,000 rand and drove it for 15 years. Both of them felt like it was theirs. That's extraordinarily rare. By the mid-2000s, it was clear the Citi Golf couldn't go on forever. New safety regulations were coming. Emissions standards were tightening. VW globally wanted South Africa to move to modern platforms. The announcement came in 2008. Production would end in 2009. People placed orders immediately, not because they needed a new car, but because they needed to own a piece of the ending. Low-mileage examples started climbing in price. The Citi Golf Sport and the final limited runs sold out fast. And then, the 29th of August 2009 arrived. the last Citi Golf, was driven off the line at the Uitenhage plant by a VW South Africa executive. Workers applauded. Some of them had spent their entire careers building this exact car. They knew every panel, every weld, every torque spec. And now, it was done. VW even ran a marketing campaign called Goodbye Citi, where they toured the entire country and allowed people to sign the car. People uploaded videos of their stories with their Citi Golfs. I remember how sad people were when this happened. South Africans had formed a genuine bond with it. Right now, in 2025, a clean Citi Golf is a collector's item. Low-mileage examples fetch prices that would have seemed ridiculous in 2009. Resto-mod builds are a whole serious subculture with dedicated builders and serious money behind them. The Citi Golf Facebook groups have hundreds of thousands of members. People post their first cities, their restored cities, their parent cities. Every single post gets the same response, the same memories, the same recognition, the same pride. There's a generation of young South Africans who were born after the Citi Golf went out of production and are still saving up to own one. That's not nostalgia, that's legacy.
Yeah, but you still haven't answered us. What about the Hilux and the Polo?
Well, the Hilux is a workhorse, tough, reliable, and it's earned its respect. But it was always a farmer's car, a contractor's car. It never belonged to everyone. The Polo? The Polo is the modern equivalent of what the Citi Golf was. It inherited the throne. It didn't earn it the same way. The Citi Golf was simply the first car in South African history that was accessible for everybody. Everyone had one. The mechanic in a township, the surfer in Jeffreys Bay, and the businessman in Sandton all drove one. So here's my argument, and I'll stand by it. The Citi Golf is South Africa's favorite car. Not the most powerful, not the most technologically advanced, not the fastest or the most luxurious, but the most loved, genuinely, durably, across generations and income levels and cultures, loved. We kept it in production for 25 years when the rest of the world had moved on. We built a whole culture around it. And we're still talking about it, collecting it, restoring it, and falling in love with it 16 years after the last one rolled off the line. That is not a car story. That is a South African story, and it deserves to be told.